Hello and welcome to Get Into Games on Air, a podcast about board games and the people who play them. I am Craig from Get Into the Games. That's not it, it's Get Into Games. And here is Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Good. We've had a wonderful day, have we not?
We have had a day.
Yes, we had chicken dinner.
Yes, we did.
We had Nando's. This is not a sponsorship for Nando's, but it was good.
I was like, where are you going?
But if Nando's do want to sponsor us, they can. Feel free, because someone who does sponsor us is Rent, Shuffle and Roll. If you go to www.rentshuffleandroll.co.uk and use the code GITG50, you will get 50% off your first month with Rent, Shuffle and Roll, a fantastic board game rental service. This is episode 25. We're going to be talking about Stonemaier Games.
Oh.
And as another thing, technically this is also a sponsored episode by Stonemaier Games, because the games that we're going to be talking about have kindly been sent to us. Well, some of them have kindly been sent to us from Jamie Stonemaier. So thanks so much. And so technically sponsored, but doesn't actually affect our thoughts or opinions on the board games. No. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are going to go back to the old school. We're going to talk a little bit about games that have hit our tables over the last few weeks where we haven't actually... Since UKG, basically. Well, not all of the games that have hit our tables since UKG, but
a good roundup.
A good roundup.
Because we've had lots of guests. We decided to steer away from what we've been playing, but...
Yeah,
there are some good games that are worth mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do that. That'll be a glorious fun time. And then we'll get back on to the business of talking about Stonemaier. We're going to rank out of the 11 Stonemaier games that we own, we're going to say our top 5 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a bit of a review session towards the later end about Wingspan Asia and Scythe, the Rise of Fenris specifically. And the Scythe, the Rise of Fenris review will be spoiler free. So do not worry if you have not played it. We won't go into massive details about the game. So what has hit our table?
Since UKG.
Since some time ago.
So we have been playing... Well, if you listen to the Stonemaier Games episode last 2 weeks ago,
yep,
we have been playing quite a lot of Shoal.
Mm-hmm.
That has hit the table quite a lot. It's quite a small box game.
Yeah,
about the fish. trying to make a shoal of fish, scoring the most points, and that is quite an easy one to get to the table.
Quick, 15 minutes ish. And like very minimal setup teardown, so perfect little game. We
have played quite a few games of Loot.
Yes,
with 3 O's.
Loot from Hachette. Fast becoming one of my favourite of those games.
I really enjoy it.
It's better than Acropolis. I said it.
Yeah, it's one that you can get out, and people who have never experienced it before can get to grips with it quite easily.
Yeah.
And after a few turns are totally, on board.
Yeah.
It plays quite quickly, but it's quite satisfying to fill up your
I think board. The first time you play it, you don't have like the strategy of exactly what you're doing. You kind of don't want to risk not completing some of the objectives, but the way to score big is by completing those objectives. So it's really kind of in your favour to kind of take those, go to the boat and take those extra tiles.
Aye. We played a couple of games of Maps of Mystera.
Yep.
Which I'm still,
I'm on the fence.
Trying to get used to. I wouldn't say I have totally been sold on it.
Well, we played it at the same sort of time we played Loot, and they've both got a kind of similar mechanic as far as you are working on 2 different boards. You're working on a central board as well as your own personal board.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it will be much better with more players than 2,
mm-hmm.
because I feel more people will be affecting the central board and adjusting what's happening.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what's missing. I think we need to try it out with a greater player count. We have played quite a few games of Kutna Horror, which, I don't know, I was never sold on it because the box is quite sort of plain looking.
Just a big silver coin in the middle of the box.
But I heard PJ of
Meeple to Meeple, and Cajun Gamer,
of fame,
and Gareth,
talking about it, and they loved it, and I was like, well, what is it about this game anyway? We brought it home from UKG, and I can see why they love it. There's so many elements of it, and whilst the box looks fairly boring, actually the concepts within it are, amazing.
The adjusting the markets, how everything's worth with the
really
deck of
clever
cards.
With the cards,
like this little box that you build, and it tells you, and you move this little dial up. It's really cool. Really like it.
We've played quite a few games of, well, not as many as I would like, but a few games of Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah,
recently. We got another Hachette game, Courtesans, which is a card placement game where you have to place a card out in front of you. You have to place a card in the middle central banquet. Is it banquet area?
It's a banquet table above or
and
below.
You have to give a card to an opponent. And that kind of choosing what to put where is quite interesting. And the cards, if they go above the, you have
the banquet table. Yeah, you have it in favour.
It's like a what kind of mat is it?
Oh, it's a cloth. It's a cloth mat with a rubber back.
If they go above, then they are scoring points for you, and if it goes below, then they're negative points. And so and there's some spy cards.
Yeah, it's really strategic. There's a little bit of deduction with the face down cards. I've been waxing lyrical about it for like every other day on Instagram recently. So if you're hearing me go, Courtesans is really good, it's because it's really good.
And it's got fancy cards because they've got like silver,
the gold foiled. It's stunning, and it's such a quick play time, easy to like re-rack and go, let's go again, because it's really satisfying. Really good.
We have played some Outrun the Bear, which is just like good fun, bit of a laugh. Kind of don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, silly.
We've played quite a few games of Wandering Towers. Yep. Which is they are actually towers that you move around, and in moving them you're also hiding people's wizards.
Yeah, so there's a memory game in there.
And you're trying to drop them into the
tower after fulfilling 5 potions or 6 potions, something like that. But there's a really nice, like a perfect kind of family weight game, but with enough little strategic little kinks to it. Yeah, I really like it.
Another game we've played quite a few times recently is Abduction, which is a like puzzly game, but it comes with a spaceship?
It's a little UFO
full of these tiny ducks that are all different colours, and that's enough to just sell. It's sold for me on the little ducks that you place out on your board, and then you're trying to make certain patterns by playing certain cards.
Yeah, I really like it. It's got a very shifting, like I think Brad from My Shelf Life and Games of Beanie said, it's got that kind of shifting stones. You're moving your ducks around to create patterns, and then you score those patterns. You basically, there's a bank of objectives that you're all trying to score. It's really nice, like the way it all plays. I think my one thing with it is like there's not a huge amount of objective cards, maybe like a few more, because once the objective decks run out, that's it. You just add up whoever's got the most cards wins.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool.
But we haven't played with the expansion yet, so
no,
that might change it up.
It's got green glittery ducks. What's not to love?
We have been having a little go at Skyrockets.
Oh, so good.
We're not very good at it,
but it's amazing.
But I would say it is a better version to play at 2 players. A better version than Kites.
Yeah.
Kites is great, but for 2 players, it's kind of like, why are we doing this? But when we were playing with more people, it's cool. But Skyrockets sort of give you little
Objectives,
challenges,
yeah.
objectives to solve.
Yeah, I kind of explain it like if you've got kites and then you've got decorum and then you bash them together, and then you had like the objective side of things that decorum has, as well as the real-time panic stations that kites gives you. It's really nice the way it works, the way that you've got like you've got 3 lives, which are your dud fireworks. You've got a timer track essentially with an orange stand timer that you have to wait till it runs out to turn it, while the other ones you don't want to run out. So there's a lot of plates you're spinning whilst trying to complete these different objectives, and all the different objectives have a different kind of hand count. One, you can't draw up cards. You have to take cards from your opponent and play them blindly, so you can draw back up to a hand of 5 cards. Yeah, it's really cool. There's so many really good little features about it, and I would highly recommend anyone, especially if you play it too and you like a bit of co-op and a bit of chaos, then yeah, skyrockets.
Some games that have come back to the table that sort of are oldies, but when they're not even old, but we've had for a while, but they're sort of having a revival here at the minute. So Wild Serengeti, we played a game of that.
Yeah, we did.
Pull that back out. That was quite pleasant with all the animal meeples.
Interesting. I think it's one of those ones that needs a few plays to kind of really get to grips with what's going on. The animal meeples are very cool. The wooden animal screen printed meeples are very nice.
We've played a few games of White Castle, which
good.
I do absolutely love.
Yeah.
And now that we've played it a few times, it's one of those games that you just set it up and you remember how to play, which I do like, because especially after a day at work, you don't want to be relearning. Yeah. And the problem with the VIA games is that their instruction manuals, well, they put them in all. I mean, there's about 5 instruction manuals in each box.
Yeah.
But the English one, they're quite heavy. Like there's quite a lot.
They're quite wordy, aren't they?
And they're quite small as well. So the print is quite small. So I'm glad that we sort of learnt that one so much so that we can just put it out and play it.
Keep going back to it. I think it's a good game. And the other thing is, like you said, like sometimes, obviously after a day of work, you don't want to play a long game. But White Castle isn't a long game. It's a heavy game. It's a thinky game. It's like, but you have 9 turns. You have 9 turns to do everything, and it's all about those combos, and those combos can be so satisfying.
New one to us, Aquatica, which is, well, I find it really cool. So you're kind of diving. I don't know what the premise of it is.
You're like fish characters. You're hiring sea life characters.
To me, it's like villainous with the characters, but then you have cards that you collect that actually then slide up into your player map, and you get different rewards for having moved down the level. It's really cool. Yeah. We only played it once, but
and you have these rays that you flip over, and they've got special abilities, and then you can buy cards that give you more rays, and those rays are giving you extra bonuses and stuff. Little plastic things. It's had a bit of a revival lately because the new Reef expansion's just been released. But
I definitely want to play that one again.
Yes, definitely.
Another really small box game that we've got, Bloxo.
Yeah, that's good.
Which is like matching coloured circles, but you can only place if all the sides match, and you're trying to get largest
area of colours. It's like a bit Quirkalesque, but with a small deck of cards, and I'm talking a very small deck of cards that you can fit in your pocket. Like it's well,
you can fit the box in your pocket.
Yeah, fit the box in your pocket. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun, and it also has an app for scoring, so you can just press buttons and you just score as you carry on. Because otherwise, I can imagine without the app, scoring might be a bit of a
it's really easy on the app. You just
because you'd have to have a piece of paper and a pen and write it down. You wouldn't remember, but it's very nice.
One that we've been playing with the children is Water by Stonemaier Games.
Yes,
which is like a farming game where you are collecting vegetables, and then you are also trying to collect the 4 different animals by going to the animal fair.
Yeah.
But there are cards where you can steal other people's animals, you can take their vegetables.
Yeah,
it's a really quick game, really but the kids love it, and so we've played it like 6 times.
Yeah, we've spoken about Dirty Pigs quite a few times from Cosmos on the podcast and on socials, and it has that real feel about it. Maybe a little bit younger than Dirty Pigs, but it's really nice. Like, everything's really cute. There's an end game solution, which is having 4 animals, so it's pretty straightforward for kids to guess. Like, our 4-year-old is just she's a maniac at that game. She knows what to do. She's sassy about everything.
Sorted.
And she's like, "Oh, well, that's good that you've played those 2 vegetables because I'm going to play Robbie the Rabbit." And then he steals all of our vegetables, and it's really sad. Or, "I'm glad you've got the cow. I'm scaring it away with a fox." Like, it's complete sassy. But it's it's adorable game. Really good for kids and families. So yeah, I would highly recommend. All Singer games are really cool, and they come in little bags, and they're really cute. But Water especially is very good.
And then we've gone further down the rabbit hole of Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah.
And we've gone for the second.
Yeah. I was umming and ahhing. I was like,
Second.
Shadows of the Galaxy.
No, but what's it called?
Second edition series thing. I was umming and ahhing about whether to go with the new series. I was like, yeah, it's cool. Maybe the starter set, maybe I didn't want to go, but we went in and just bought everything. And it was fun. And I got a nice... That was Siri talking to us. That was lovely. Thanks, Siri. But no edits. So, yeah, I think it's just so good. And the new Unlimited...
There's some really cool cards.
There's some really good cards. There's some really good new mechanics. So there's bounty hunting. So you can put bounties on other... So encourage... Because the game, essentially, is you're trying to defeat each other's base. But a lot of the time is you could just go for each other's base without actually bothering with attacking the characters. So... It encourages you to attack. You can smuggle, so when you resource cards, you can get them out. I know a lot of these words are probably not meaning anything anyway, but if you've played it before, then it might mean something. But it's really cool. I again really love the artwork. Again, some cards with the glossy finishes and the hyperspaces and the shiny shinies are really nice. So I'm. Yeah, it's a great game. There's some lots of fun. So I'm
very happy with my Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, your Jabba the Hutt deck's very nice. Which I wanted to use Jabba the Hutt, but then you stole it from me, which is rude. So yeah, I'm looking forward to mixing a Sparkle of Rebellion and Shadows of the Galaxy decks. That'd be fun times.
And then we've just been dabbling in the old Wingspan Asia and Oceania.
Yeah.
Expansions. Because we knew we were doing this, so we've been playing a few games of that. And yeah, that's what we've been up to.
Yeah, we have played.
We've played
lots of others, but they're sort of some of the main highlights of games that we've played. I mean, we've played lots of the Cheatwell stuff with the Shadow Ninjas that everyone's played, and
Skullduggery and Cadaver and Sky Team and all of that.
So we've done. Yeah, it's been quite a bit of
but I feel like we're just going to be picking up the game playing now because it's coming to the summer holidays.
Yeah,
so brain space is going to be freed up for some of the heavier games, and we're going to try and get as many to the table as we can.
We are going to get Endless Winter to the table, and we're going to be talking next week about how Endless Winter has gone, but we barely play it, and we need to because it's good.
Yeah, no, it's good. It is good. I agree.
That's my mission.
Okay.
Just to put the box on the table, then pick it back up and put it back on the shelf.
So
Stonemaier. With Needle and Thread. Oh, Stonemaier. Yes. Stonemaier Games.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best, arguably.
I do actually think, yeah. I can't think of a Stonemaier game that I don't really enjoy.
No.
I mean, they're all fairly different.
Yep. All the ones we've played.
Yeah. And there are still some that I would like to try out.
Yeah, there's definitely some that are on my list of wants to try. You can definitely tell the differences from earlier ones to later ones, and even production and inserts and all that sort of stuff. You can tell.
But I think for the most part, it's the inserts and the way the game is put together are very well thought out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well presented.
Yeah, you can get from box to table pretty much most games pretty quickly because everything is set in the box to go. So there's always thought behind everything.
And I think that the instruction manuals for most of, in fact, I would say all of them, are fairly easy to read, pick up, understand. A lot of them have sort of, like Wingspan has, like, here's how to play your first couple of goes. So you've got that to help you and guide you.
The Automa Factory as well, having the solo mode specifically designed and created around the game. So for people who play solo, it's ideal, really.
I feel like a lot of love and thought has gone into the game.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Should we do our top fives, or do we want to talk about the 11 that we have, and then go into what we think is our top 5 games? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can talk about.
Let's go with the games. Let's go top 11. Let's talk about 11, and then talk about what 5 we think are the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, because we are currently staring at our games, we'll just start from one end and go to the other.
Okay.
So first up we have Expeditions.
Expeditions is sitting on our shelf. Do you know why it's sitting on our shelf first? Tallest box we got.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why
I think I fell in love with Expeditions when we played it at 3 with Beardy Games.
Yes.
Beardy Games?
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it at 2. I think it's quite fun because it's not. There is a very solitaire nature to the game, but I do think when you play with more people and it starts blocking more spaces.
I also think that you learn. So at first you're just playing cards. The more you play it, you learn that there's an order to play the cards because they then sort of ping off each other, and you can use one to then do something else. So I think that's the beauty of playing a few games, and then you're like, oh, okay, I can do this, and now I can do this, and
because we played it a few times. Then I taught it at the Dice Box, one of the Heavy Thursday events, 2 events, which watching and got to watch like a proper 5-player game of it, which is long, hectic.
Takes up a lot of the table.
It does, yeah. But I like a tile, like the tile tree. It does have that, and you're going off to moving up the board to explore a bit anarchy as far as the exploration.
Yeah, I like the turning over of the tiles to find out where you're going and
what you're uncovering and stuff. It's a really nice game. Insert really functional. I really would like to get the expansion at some point. That's just been released. Adds another 2 mechs.
Are cute.
Yeah, the minis are cool. I like the metal versions, but the plastic ones are really nice, and you can paint them better than the metal ones. The metal ones are cool just because they're chunky and big, but the plastic ones are absolutely fine. But yeah, it's a really satisfying game. I just really love it. Yeah,
but it's nothing like Scythe.
It is nothing like Scythe, and that was always my thing. I think we obviously spoke about this in our probably 2nd episode or 3rd episode when we were talking about like our top 100 games or what we are, our new reviews and revelations, that whatever episode 1 was, because it was one of the highlights of last year. But it is one of those things that if you are buying that game expecting Scythe, you will be disappointed. Also, those people who do not enjoy Scythe won't buy Expeditions because they think it's a sequel to Scythe. And it is, if anything...
It's in the Scythe world.
It's in the Scythe world. It's the Scythe art. If anything, it's Lost Ruins of Arnak with a bit of Wayfarers of the South Tigris where you're tucking cards and getting the benefits off of the combos. Mm-hmm. It's a good... I would highly recommend anyone playing that.
So moving on to Scythe.
Next tallest box.
Not a war game.
Not a war game. It's not a war game. Do not.
You hardly ever battle anybody.
Me personally, never. Do not speak to Steve of Board Game Waffle. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I did not start any wars.
But again, it's about So I quite like the discovery cards.
Yeah.
Where you can then choose what option you have. We've now got the upgraded resources, so that's really nice to play with.
It's a resource management thing.
And I like the fact that there's multiple objectives. So whilst you might be working on one objective, I could be working on another objective, and we can win via different routes.
Yeah, and I think we'll get on to talking about the Rise of Fenris a bit later, but playing Scythe multiple times really opens up how the objectives help you score and how the best way to maximise those points, really. But yeah, I really enjoy Scythe, collecting research. I love the action selection, which has also got the same sort of thing in Expeditions. You can't do the same thing again unless you refresh. Whereas in Scythe, it's also asymmetrical, so every character is different, but you can choose which action you do, where you do a top row action or a bottom row action, and you can move along. And you can't do the same one again unless you're the Rusviet red. And
the actions get better as you're putting up buildings and workers and things, so it develops over.
So it all upgrades, but as you get more workers, you need to feed them more, so it costs more resources. So there's that real balance of managing the resources that you have in your possession, as well as exploring, going further to get more area to control, to score more points, to complete those objectives. So and get your popularity up. So you don't really want to go to war because your popularity will drop. But yeah, it's a very nice.
And you're stuck on your little island for quite a bit until you can get your mechs that cross the water and you go through tunnel. And it's cool.
Unless you're your blue chaps, and your blue chaps just stroll across anyway because they're blue, like the sea.
So then we've got Between Two Castles, and I think Between Two Cities, we can talk about them at the same time. Because essentially there are, not the same thing, but...
they're the same but different.
But different. Well, I love Between Two Castles because I'm a bit obsessed with Mad King Ludwig and his castles. And it's set up around that, and building up your castle, placing tiles next to each other to maximize scoring conditions, which is the same in Between Two Cities, except that you're making two cities and trying to...
Yeah, Between Two Cities is lighter. The scoring is easier to understand and get on with. And I really like how obviously you are between two cities. You're building to the left of you and to the right of you, and you're trying to score off either of them. Between Two Castles is a bit more complexity with the scoring. We used to have Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and as much as we enjoyed it, it just didn't hit the table. And it's a good game, and this.
But it didn't feel like you were building a castle because they were just
grey squares.
Yeah, whereas this has got
pictures,
fancy pictures.
Yeah, I think for us, we prefer this, and I know that's not an opinion shared by most people. Most people probably prefer the other, and that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. But
we're probably wrong.
No, never. Between Two Castles is really nice, and I know the new version of Castles of Mad King Ludwig has shiny, pretty pretties and minis, but Between Two Castles, I just love it. It's good fun, and it's still got those silly rooms like the bottomless pit and the pet room and all that sort of silly stuff, which is very nice.
Then we have Pendulum.
Moving on. Then we have...
I would say, this is a spoiler, but Pendulum is my least favourite of the Stonemaier games. And I think maybe that opinion is shared amongst many people. It's real-time
worker placement.
And for me, something just misses, and I can't really understand.
It's real-time worker placement, but you don't. There is a mode where you don't need to use the sand timers at all. So why are the sand timers in it? And the meeples, the little meeples, which are plastic and not wooden, but hey ho, the little meeples look like Rick and Morty.
Oh,
just for fun.
never thought.
But it's got something.
Yeah.
But I think it hasn't got it's like a futuristic world.
It doesn't make me want to go back to it though. I'll play it, and it's in the collection because it's a collection. But
it needs an IP slapped on it because I feel like it is trying to be something based on something.
Yeah,
it feels like, and we'll get to this in a bit, but it feels like maybe it should have a Red Rising skin.
Maybe
on its kind of, I don't know. There's something about it. It's
anyway. We can't.
I would recommend people try it. You might find that you love it.
It's not awful.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think there's any Stonemaier game that's awful. I don't think they put out awful games.
No.
But it's just the one that has clicked the least. I think. Then we have Libertalia.
Libertalia is...
I absolutely
incredible.
love Libertalia. And I know there was a bit of controversy about the old one and the new one.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good. We never had the old one.
No.
But, the way you have your treasure... what's it called?
The treasure chest.
Treasure chest, which is the score dials for how much you're scoring. Yeah. We've got the upgraded money,
the metal coins,
which just looks cool. But every time we've played it with people, it's gone down well.
Yeah.
Our daughter plays it because she can just pick cards. She doesn't necessarily need to read what it says until you put it down on the board, and then we can help her. It has the midshipman for when you play two players.
Yeah. We played Libertalia on Board Game Arena. The original version is on there, and it just doesn't seem to...
I don't like the artwork in that one.
No, I prefer my fish folk on my weird anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah.
Let's get that word back in. It's been 25 episodes in, quarter of a century down.
But I really like Libertalia.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant game. I love the mechanics of it. Everyone has essentially the same deck, but over the rounds, the deck starts changing. So, have you already played your witch? No, I've got my witch. Who's played what cards? Plays well at all player counts. I find obviously the more the merrier. But there's that little bit of deduction that makes me happy.
And the pulling
there's all white tiles
out of the bag.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's in that box with the insert is really well thought out because everybody's cards are with in their own piles. It's one of those games you can just get out. Right, there we go. Set it up. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful game.
Red Rising.
This is probably. We have a differing opinion on this game. This game is fine.
I really like it.
Fine.
Yeah, I really like it. It's a lot of reading, and I think that's what puts you off.
I don't think it's not the reading. It's just it's fine.
I think if you've read I think it appeals to a certain audience. If you read the Red Rising books, it makes sense, and it's a very good game to do with the book series, which I think is the point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, probably if the books were if I'd read.
But I like the way the different characters interact with each other.
I do like the way the different characters interact with each other, but I do feel that you have to be quite lucky to get there's such a big deck of cards. You have to be lucky to get the right characters that synergize with the right characters. And I think the only way to do that is play it over and over and over and over again to learn the cards like we have done with Everdell, for example. Now I know the cards. I'm like, right, I've got this. I'm looking for that. So because I know that synergizes with this. So this is the card I'm looking for. And I think knowing the story or knowing the books or knowing the game more, you would work out, oh, that's Fred. He synergizes with Buffy over here.
Yeah. It is one of those games that you have to sit around the table in a certain way because you do have to constantly pick up the cards to check, or what did that do, or what was the benefit of that particular character.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. We played it at 2. We haven't played it at any higher player count, but I'm not sure how it would work because everybody needs to be able to see what's going on.
And there's lots of different, again, like it has like a Scythe-esque multiple end game.
Oh yeah.
Things. So I can't, off the top of my head, I'm not going to remember. You have to move your rocket ship up a certain distance. You've got other things. You've got multiple end game scenarios. And if you rush through those, you're not going to score really well. But also the end game scenario can come up on you really quickly without you realising.
And you have to have like pairs of cards as well to score.
Yeah.
Some of them say you have to have this card.
Yeah, you have to have Floyd to go with this card.
Yeah, you have to manage your hand, but
you have to hope that card comes out, which maybe at a more higher player count, cards come out more.
But definitely go read the book, even if you don't like the game.
Yeah,
go read the book.
I'm happy to have it and to play it. I think it's something we do need to get to the table more.
My Little Scythe.
Love it.
I think so. We had My Little Scythe and My Little Everdale.
We still have.
But out of the two, I mean, My Little Everdale isn't Stonemaier, by the way. But like for the children, I would happily play My Little Scythe and get involved in it. My Little Everdale is just boring for adults to play with children.
Yeah, when talking about My Little Scythe and My Little Everdale, one of them is fantastic and the other one is My Little Everdale.
You're collecting pies, aren't you, in My Little Scythe?
You're making pies.
Making pies.
You're making pies to go out and have pie fights, but you don't want to do that because you lose friendship. You need to have... You can't win the game at all without having... So you could have the 4 trophies that you need, same sort of thing as Scythe, but you can't win the game if your friendship isn't high enough, and you have to have friendship. One thing in the rulebook says a lot of games of My Little Scythe finish in a draw, and that's fine. That's just how the games end.
A really good version to get children learning the kind of basic structure of how Scythe works.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the basic... I mean, I could probably say let's group of adults, if they don't have no idea what action selection is, without showing them Scythe and all the millions and plethora of choices that you've got, just be like, here's My Little Scythe, here's your board with 3 actions, you've got move, you've got gather, you've got magic, what do you want to do? Let's go. And you're getting used to that kind of process. Fundamentally, you're doing the same, you're landing on each other's square, you're having a big fight, whatever. You're getting your resources. The resources are beautiful, like chunky gems and apples. The minis are some of the best minis in any board game.
Oh yeah,
like they're the cutest kind of not Chibli at all, but those cute little animals. Another thing that I love about it is that the characters in My Little Scythe are the animal. So let's say, for example, the tigers are tigers dressed in the Rusviet costume. And in Scythe, it's the Rusviet. She has a tiger.
Yeah.
So
there's a link there.
There's a link. Like they're all the colours are dressed. Are the animal dressed as the person? Yeah, amazing. Love it.
So then we have Wingspan and Wingspan Asia and Wingspan Oceania and Wingspan Europe.
Yeah.
All the birds.
Which was funny because we very much.
Oh wait, one more. We have Wingspan, the fan art pack.
We do have the Wingspan, the fan art pack.
It might just be my favourite bit.
Yeah. Wingspan was a funny one because we were like, we don't need that game.
I know. For the longest time, we were like, why is everyone going on about Wingspan?
Like, don't need it.
Who cares?
Don't need birds.
Not a fan of birds.
Birds. Yuck.
But it's not really about the birds, really, is it?
I mean,
the birds are on the
definitely
card.
All about the birds.
Yeah, but I can play it without
thinking about the bird. Yeah,
I can appreciate the bird.
But you're playing it for the ability of the card, not necessarily that I'm playing a pigeon right now.
So you are playing out your birds or attracting your birds to your wetlands, grasslands, treelands.
Treelands, yep, outdoors.
That's not the word.
Green.
And as you play out your birds, then you are able to get more resources, you are able to lay more eggs, you are able to draw more cards.
Yes.
And then when you do those actions, if you have birds that have brown bordered at the back,
Yeah.
no, not at the back.
On the card, bottom of the card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant at the bottom, not at the back. Losing my mind.
Absolutely.
So if you have those cards, then you play them backwards and sort of can activate all these other actions, whereby you can get more resources, you can collect more cards, etc. And it's very satisfying when you do an action. So say you've got to the end of your row and you can now collect 4 eggs and you place them out, but you can also do X, Y, and Z on the way back.
Yeah, it's a proper engine builder. That's and there's a reason it's probably one of the biggest selling modern board games of its time. And
I think the expansions have added certain things. So things like
so Europe added between rounds. Yeah.
And then you've got end of game scoring cards now.
Yep.
And you've got between turns cards as well.
Like the nectar from Oceania, giving that wild resource, as well as giving the that majority kind of extra scoring to kind of stop that spamming eggs thing that people tend to do on the base game. The base game's great and fine for that, but there is that level of just spam. And then you've got Wingspan Asia with the duet mode, which we'll go into in a moment.
If it's on our list.
If it's on our list. Okay.
And also the fan art pack, whilst it is totally probably unnecessary, there are some of the most gorgeous cards. I have featured them on my Instagram page because, like, I opened the box and I was like, there's an Etch-a-Sketch bird. Like, and there's some children's artwork in there.
Yeah.
And some, it's really cool. So if you are looking for more birds.
Well, yeah. So if you want to replace some of the birds or have some sort of slightly different artwork or give a bit more character than, obviously the artwork in Wingspan is incredible. But if you want just a bit more character and a slightly different change of scenery, definitely worth a look.
And then in the Wingspan vein, but not the same, a bit like Expeditions and Scythe, we also have Wormspan, which is the dragon version of Wingspan. I will say that we also have the upgraded tokens for Wingspan and Wormspan from Tinkertown Games, which does help with the aesthetically
it does help with the
nature
love
of the games.
And with Wormspan as well. So I would say, Wingspan comes with all the inserts and those little boxes to put everything in. Wormspan came as component soup in the box. Mm-hmm. So we also have the coloured folded space insert for Wormspan, which is amazing. It makes getting it out a doddle as well as putting it away, and just the box is just perfect. Chef's kiss.
So you are trying to entice dragons into your caves. You're doing a bit of exploring, gathering resources. In a similar vein to Wingspan, in that it's an engine builder.
Yes. But you go the other way. You go left to right, not right to left. Yeah.
And your little man goes for a little walk.
Yeah. I like that. The whole, the exploring different caves, doing the different things. Everything costs coins. You have to build the cave. You have to excavate the cave first before you can get the dragon. So there's another layer of different cards that you have to actually be able to play first before you can put a dragon in. You're not limited to turns like you are, or
you have those coins.
You have the coins, but you're where Wingspan, you will eventually run out, or you go from 8 turns to like 5 turns over the course of 4 rounds. So by the end of the game, you're only having 5 turns, but your engine should be massively powerful, so you should be able to do loads in those 5 turns. With Wormspan, there is the ability to be able to just keep going. You should technically, you can and should maybe.
Well, I've never done it.
I'm never good enough. But to be able to get coins to be able to play longer turns, it's really good.
And I think I would say it's different to Wingspan.
Oh yeah.
you can have both, and it's not like either or, is it?
No, I don't think it's more complicated.
No.
I mean, it's probably
And I
slightly
think-
heavier, but I think if you were new to either of them, picking up both of them will be as easy to learn as each other.
I think knowing Wingspan helps with some of the mechanics in Wormspan.
Yeah.
But there are differences. And what I like about Wormspan is the whole lore book. So when you play a dragon, there's a whole other manual which you can go to, and it tells you all about the dragon when it was first discovered, and gives you that sort of backstory. So it's like a whole world.
Yeah. I also really like the hatchlings, so you can get the baby dragons that are really powerful. They cost more to be able to play, but they give you some extra perks and benefits down the line. It's a very satisfying game, and as you said, with the upgrades as well, it's even more so.
And then we have Rolling Realms.
Yes.
Which has been played many times over the internet with friends.
Yes. I really like it.
It's sort of our breakfast game.
Yeah.
So we can be having our morning coffee, get a couple of realms out, let's roll some dice and see what happens. I would love to be able to have all the realms, but sadly we have not been keeping up. And so every so often I'm like, oh, there's a potion explosion realm and there's a
obsession.
And there's a this realm, and at some point I'm going to need to spend some money to
it's one of those things. I feel like it's like a Marvel Champions thing. When people are getting into Marvel Champions now, it's like, oh, there's a million decks of cards. The completionist in me is like, I'm never gonna. And let's face it, we've got so many realms. We can still play very fun, get a lot of games of it.
But I think it's the cool thing about it is that it's all your favorite games in another game.
Yeah,
which I just find like, oh, that's really cool. You know, you can play Honey Buzz in a Stonemaier game.
Yeah, there's a Planet Unknown realm now,
and they're all the realms. The way you score is all slightly different, but it's linked to how you would play. So like the Honey Buzz one is making the honeycomb.
Yeah.
And
shapes.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's
if you like rolling
rights. Yeah, it's one of the best. And also it's so portable as well. You don't need to take the big chunky dice, they help, but you could just take the realms and 2 small dice rather than the big ones if you want to put it in a bag or whatever. Really portable. Very, very good fun times.
And then finally we have Viticulture and Viticulture World. I'll put them together because it's the same game.
Yeah.
Viticulture World is just the co-op version of Viticulture. Viticulture, we have the Essential Edition.
We do. Well,
I like the normal bog standard Viticulture.
Yep.
You can add all of Tuscany and all of that business.
Yeah, we have Tuscany and we have all that stuff with the structures and things like that. And
but I don't think it necessarily needs it, to be honest. I think it is a perfectly fine game the way it is.
Yeah, I think potentially at higher player counts, Tuscany may benefit a little bit because there's more to do. But I generally think that.
But what I like about Viticulture is that integrated into the board is the 2-player, 4-player, 6-player version of it. Yes. So there are different spots you can go to, and if there's only 2 of you, you can only go to the first spot. But if you're playing as a 4, it opens up another spot, which has other benefits. So you get an extra benefit if you go to that spot. But we've talked about it a million times, but the resources and the money is really tight. And what you can do on a turn or in a year, because you have summer and autumn and winter, what you can do is very limited. So you have to really maximize. And I think for me, it's the go-to game when I want to give my brain a bit of a workout and strategy, because it's not so difficult that you don't remember how to do it, but just that kind of like, well, I could go here, but is that going to benefit me? Because actually I might be able to get some money and then do a better thing in the wind,
Yeah, it's just got so much replayability. Because no two games are the same. You can always try and do it. The last game we played, I managed to pull some cards that managed to really early on get me. I sold a field and I managed to get all of my workers out by the second year, and it's like unheard of. I was so lucky to be able to.
Because you had some cards
that helped me train workers and then use them. Which was mad. But yeah, some games that never happens. So yeah, I think Viticulture is one of those.
And Viticulture World, I enjoy it, but if I'm going to play a 2-player version of it, I don't necessarily want to play co-op.
No,
it's fine, but I will more often than not go back to just Viticulture with a glass of wine, and some snacks. Perfect evening.
I think as well, like the Viticulture, the co-op expansion is a nice idea, and it is good. It's a good expansion. It's really hard. It's really hard. And it's cool the way you upgrade your vineyard, and you've got to get those specific upgrades in time.
Vineyard?
Upgrade your vineyard?
Vineyard? Vineyard?
Toilets? Upgrade your toilet. But yeah, I think the thing is there are so many cooperative games now that are my go-to cooperative games.
No.
I would be, and getting the Viticulture World box, and then the Viticulture box, then pulling out the pieces you need from both boxes. Whereas I go, oh, do you want to play the art project? It's got 6 boards in. Which board do you want to do? Done. Go to cooperative game. Whereas,
but I'm glad it's in the collection, because every so 100%. Often I will want to just challenge myself to see if I can do a different.
And it's nice to
country.
have a work together. If we're both knackered, if we're both half a brain, most of the time I am half a brain.
Half a brain and half a brain together, and you get half a brain.
Half a brain, yeah, because my half brain doesn't always work. Yes.
But yeah, it's...
Yeah.
So...
That was our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of our 11 Stonemaier Games.
So obviously some others in the collection that we are yet to get are things like, I really want to play Charterstone.
Yeah.
Which is a campaign game where you change the board and all of that. I really want to try that out. Then there's a new one, which is Apiary.
Yeah.
Which is about the bees taking over the world.
Space bees.
Rolling Realms is having a Redux.
Yeah, which has got so basically all the realms will fit in one big box, and also having all the other realms that you can buy as well. So there's a lot of Rolling Realms that we need to deal with.
Tapestry has always sort of been on my radar.
Yep.
That, because I kind of like that city building kind of world building type
Civ building game, isn't it? Yeah, there's a lot of... It's cool.
And there's lots of expansions to that, so I've always been interested in that.
Yeah.
And then one I want to try, we could just buy it, but I don't know. I don't know whether I'd play it enough. Is this Smitten game?
Yeah.
Because I'm really interested in how you can get a game out of. I think it's 9 cards.
Yeah, it's 9 cards. I think.
But I haven't seen it be played.
No.
So I don't know whether it's like worth it. Is there enough replayability? Is it something that you would take out and show to everybody? I don't know. So I'd like to see it in the real and play it with somebody. But
and there's Euphoria as well.
Oh yeah, Euphoria. Which reminds me of is it Euphoria a Eurovision song?
Maybe.
No?
I don't know. Ask Dennis.
Anyway, so our top 5. Shall we go with 5?
Yeah, go on.
5 down to 1.
5 down to 1.
Now, I find it really difficult because so many of them are
That's the end of the podcast.
yeah, we just decided not to. And that's that. So many of them are sort of on a par with each other that it's hard to pick. So I've cheated once.
Okay, I like it.
So my number 5 is Libertalia.
Okay, yeah.
I think it gets to the table a lot. I think it's really accessible for people. I think the theme of pirates and piracy and looting and the fact that it's got 2 sides, the kind side and the not
Yeah,
so
the
kind
means,
side.
yeah, there's lots of modules to the game, yeah.
Yeah, and the way the cards come out and which cards get played at, or in which game alters the game, so it's never the same game.
Yeah, 100%.
Twice. So that would be my number 5.
Okay. Are we doing our number 5s?
Yeah.
Oh God.
You haven't thought about it, have you?
Proper planning here.
See, I wrote mine down, and Craig's just doing his off the top.
I can see it. I've got the games in front of me, all of them. Look, I can see them there. My number 5. I can see my 3.
No, you should have prepared earlier.
Well, I'm gonna say. Oh man, I don't know. It's difficult to put these 1, 2.
That's what
3.
I just said, isn't it? I said it's really hard.
Fine. I'm also going to agree with you. My 4 and 5 could flip flop at any time.
Flip flop. That could be a whole new game.
But I'm going to say Libertalia as well, because Libertalia is so good, easy to get to the table, easy to play. I would 100% agree with you. There you go.
My number 4, this is the one I've cheated at, is Wingspan / Wormspan.
Yeah.
Because it would depend. They're not the same game, and I really need this to come across. However, some days I would be more in the mood for Wormspan, and some days I would be more in the mood for Wingspan.
Yeah. Totally.
And it would just go between the two. My reservation about it not being further up my list is that I think at higher player counts, it gets a bit dull waiting for your turn.
It drags, yeah.
So we've played like a couple of games on BGA where it's been more people, 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And waiting for your turn to come round is not a great feeling because you lose a little interest because you're not interacting with other people's player boards. So I think at 2 players, Wingspan, Wormspan, absolutely fine. I think at a higher player count,
yeah,
I would choose something else to play.
I think 3 is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Definitely a sweet spot. I'm going to... My number 4... Have you finished? Sorry?
I have finished.
My number 4, and I'm going to do this because 1 is the only thing that's going to be slightly different.
Really?
Probably. And 2 is simply based on player count. And I'm going to basing this on us playing games normally. And I'm going to put Expeditions at 4.
Okay. I thought that would be higher up your list.
It should be. But the reason it isn't is because, as mentioned, I think at higher player count, it's better than at 2. And I think the games that are higher on my list, I enjoy playing at 2 as much as I enjoy playing, which is a lie because one of them I'm going to say is definitely better at more than 2. But I think Expeditions being better at 3 or 4 is the reason I'm putting it at 4.
Okay. I've just changed my number 3.
Okay.
Based off of something that you said. Because I was going to have Expeditions at number 3. However, you're right. We don't play it enough, but because we prefer it at that higher player count, which we don't, at the moment, don't have access to. When Alana's a bit older, she might be able to play with us, and that'll be fine. So I've changed my number 3 to be Rolling Realms, just because the amount of times it gets to the table and the amount of times we played it. So for the price, that you would pay for it, it's actually really good value because it gets to the table a lot. It's something that you can play with friends across the internet in other countries, and it translates well. And we've had a lot of fun playing with it and exploring the realms and adding to the realms. And
it's so accessible as well. It's like you said, we play with it. We play it with friends all over the world, and that's the beauty of board gaming and the hobby. And being able to do that is a wonderful thing. And that game lets us do that.
And it comes with, is it 6 different colours?
Yeah.
So we have given 2 of our colours to our friends, so we can play with them.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the root of Rolling Realms. Rolling Realms was designed as a game that was never intended to be released.
Yeah.
It was a game that was made in the pandemic to be something that people could play online and play with each other without being with each other. And the beauty of the game is inherent within that. My number 3 is I'm going to cheat also, and I'm going to say Wingspan One-Span.
Oh, you're just a copycat.
Yep. I agree that they are. I mean, I really like Wingspan, and I love what I think Wingspan's got. I'd argue that I prefer Wingspan. I don't know, but
you prefer Wingspan?
Yeah, maybe.
I think I prefer Wingspan.
It's just
I prefer dragons to birds,
or it's recency bias. So my brain might be thinking Wingspan because I played it 2 hours ago. But I prefer dragons to birds, yeah. But I think they both have their place in the collection. They're both different enough. They are like Everdell and Everdell Farshore. They're different enough to own both. They are different games. They're not the same. Mechanics are different. Did you know the mechanics are different? And they're different games. Just going to say that. I don't know why I'm saying that. But they're different games, but they are depending on what you're in the mood for. If you want something standalone, I do feel like with more and more of Wingspan, now I'm going to be like, oh, let's just shuffle in all these cards, and then I'm opening 4 boxes, and I don't have the nesting box, and I probably will not get the nesting box.
No, don't mix them all together.
I'll mix them all together.
No, because I we got just... So the beauty is that you can just get Asia off the...
Yeah, but you don't
need anything from the Wingspan box.
Yeah, but you don't need the resources. You don't need
other
the
than
shinies.
Other than the resources, but mostly it's in the box.
Yeah, but sometimes it might be nice to mix up the birds.
Oh, we disagree. I don't want to mix all the birds.
I like mixing birds.
They should live in their own continent. Anyway, moving
entirely
on.
Not what no, those migratory birds should definitely not do that. Do not do that.
No.
Those Canada geese. Get them out. Number 2.
Plus the facts on the little bird cards are cute. Anyway, never mind. We digress. My number 2 is Scythe. I really, really like Scythe. I think that my love of Scythe has improved since we played Rise of Fenris, just because of the amount of times you got to play it. Plus, there's some pretty cool things in Rise of Fenris, which we won't spoil.
No.
But they're pretty cool.
Yes.
And they give you more things to play with inside. So, and then we had to go and buy extra things because they give you things that you need extra things. Anyway, it's all very complicated. But I think Rise of Fenris allowed me to play Scythe enough that I now could play Scythe anywhere, anytime.
Understand it.
I think the last time we played it at Mollington with 5 people, I really had to struggle to remember how to play, but now I have that down pat.
Yeah.
And it's just a great big box game. You're immersed in a world. The art is absolutely beautiful, and I love it. The mechs are amazing.
The little Easter eggs on the board. There's like Santa Claus on the board, and there's the little Hobbit hole, and there's all those little Easter eggs. Oh.
It is gorgeous, and I love it. And if I could get it to the table more, I would. It's just, it's a long game. You have to really want to play it, but definitely Rise of Fenris has enhanced my love of Scythe. It's definitely a good one. What's your number 2, Craig?
I don't know. My number 2 and my number 1
are interchangeable.
They are interchangeable.
This is the problem with Jamie's games. There's no one that's like, oh my god, this is definitely the best one.
So Scythe was always on my list of board games for wanting forever and ever and ever. And we bought the metal coins because we just wanted a set of metal coins before we bought Scythe. Then eventually I got Scythe because it was one of those games that was always on my list and I wanted to get it, so I got it eventually. Now the metal coins live in the Scythe box and no other game can use those metal coins because they're Scythe metal coins. I think I am going to put Scythe at 2 as well today.
What makes it number 2? It's gone down.
I don't know.
You're so unsure today.
I'm unsure. I'm not.
You should have prepared better.
Scythe is player count.
All your decisions come down to player count?
All my decisions are coming down to player count. No.
Because you don't like playing it with just me?
I don't like you. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so let's play Scythe higher. More people. No.
Hot air balloons?
Hot air balloons. Hot air balloons?
Wind.
Yeah. It's interchangeable. It's one or the other, and I think at the moment, I really do. I think I'm going to put Scythe into just because it is better with more, but it is a truly enjoyable, remarkable game with so much that you can do and add to the game, and having all those upgrades that we have just makes the whole experience more. Fenris has just changed the game for Scythe, being able to add modules, take modules away, change how the game is played, change how those trophies are scored.
Spoilers.
Well, that's not. It says modules. It tells you that on the back of the box.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that anyway in a bit. It does change the way it is, but my number one will be the same as yours. I'm sure for reasons. Your number one.
Viticulture.
Yeah.
Viticulture is, for me, like a calm game. Even though we talk about it being tight and resources are tight and you can't do what you want to do, it's my go-to. My brain is like fuzzy, or I've got loads on. You can just set it out and I feel like instantly calm. And I'm like, right, I'm just, building my vineyard and I'm planting out my plants, and now I'm making some wine. And it's so simple, like even down to the fact that you have the little clear beads, glass beads that go over your grapes that make them look like grapes.
Yeah.
And the little wooden pieces that represent your cellars.
Yeah.
And the cottages. And again, that board is beautiful, and you can see the people doing the vineyard tour.
Doing the work, yeah.
And it is the perfect game, like I said before, to have a glass of wine, a few snacks. I prefer it at 2, I think, because you can sit alongside, because the board faces one way. Yeah. So we usually sit next to each other and we play, and I don't ever really even care who gets to the 21st, because it's just satisfying to build that kind of, I've got my grapes, now I've put it in my cellar, I've made my wine, now I'm going to sell my wine, and I'm going to get some money that's going to keep coming in now because I've sold that wine, and I'm going to be able to do some more stuff, and it's satisfying just from that point of view. So whoever wins, I don't care.
I think that's it. I think that's the reason it's probably my number one is that it's a comforting game. There's nothing. It's relaxing. It's cozy. No one could see me do the air quotes with my fingers, but trust me, I did them. It's the best smelling board game there is. I suggest that anyone who has viticulture takes the lid off and goes, oh, it's the best smelling board game of all board games. And yeah, like you said, I think you just hit the nail on the head with all that stuff. The cooperative expansion is fine to add to it, but the base game is just perfect, and it's just a wonderful worker placement game that just does what you need. And yeah, there's a way to play it and get those workers early, that kind of thing. You're not limited.
I also think it holds a bit of nostalgia for us, because it was definitely the first game, I think, where we thought, I've no idea how to play this, even though we read the rules.
Yeah.
The first playthrough, we were like, this is so long. I think we thought it was the worst game ever. Second play, we were like, what were we worrying about? Like, I've totally got this now.
Yeah, I remember getting it, like, going, let's get that for my birthday. And you were a bit like, really?
Yeah.
Really? It's just a game about making wine? Fine. And then we played it on New Year's Eve, didn't we?
Yeah.
We played that and Terraforming Mars. that was fun. 2 just long games. And
to learn, they're quite tricky. Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't know, if you like that was our real
New
first
to it,
dive into like worker placement and everything, and it's all very confusing. And now I'm like, what was confusing? Just put a man down, do a thing. So yeah, for me it was like that. But
and I don't think it needs any of its expansions and all.
no, it
other
doesn't
bits,
need it.
the hats and all of that business.
But I think of 4 players, maybe having that area control from Tuscany might be nice. The structures to give you a bit of extra power to your vineyard, but
it is just perfect the way it is.
the structures can also make it a bit unbalanced. If someone gets a really good structure and someone gets a really bad one, then or doesn't have one, then yeah. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful perfection of a game.
But there is pretty much, I'm just looking at them now, pretty much a game for,
Yeah.
Sometimes you get publishers who have a particular, niche kind of, we're going for all games about countries, or we're going for all card games or whatever.
Yeah.
But as I look along the shelf, I'm like, there's a lot of different games that are hitting different people's appeal. So there's pretty much something for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
So
let's have a brief chat about Wingspan Asia and what the duet mode really brings to Wingspan.
Ooh. Okay.
In a segment of the show I like to call
Put Becky on the spot.
Small Reviews.
Oh, right, okay. Wingspan Asia. So it gives you a board where you are working towards end of round goals that are related to how many or where you put out your yin yang symbols. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you can only put them out on the board if the bird that you can put out one of your yin yang symbols onto this board when you play a card, but you can only put them out onto segments where that was a requirement of the card or a feature of that bird. So, for example, if you paid wheat for that bird, you could place your yin yang symbol on a wheat.
Yep.
And you are trying to connect the largest amount of your yin yang symbols across all the areas. Why are you laughing at me?
Because the more you say yin yang symbol makes it sound like it's not a word.
Trying to create the biggest amount, because at the end you'll score your biggest section of yin yang symbols.
Thank you.
But you can also, there are spaces where you'll get an additional bonus if you put your yin yang symbol down on it. What I found was it just gave me something else to think about, as well as playing the cards, a little bit more strategy perhaps for the 2-player. Trying to think about how I could cut off your yin yang symbols so that you didn't score a large amount.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. It's got that little extra bit, and the objectives balance with that board, and that's the main difference. Like everything else is still Wingspan.
But I like that, like I said, that you could get the Asia box out, and apart from the resources, everything's there. So what they've done is they've taken out the bird feeder, which is a
bird house. Yeah.
A dice tower that's, that you have to make up and put in the box, but has just become a cardboard
tray, basically.
A cardboard sheet that just looks like the bottom of the bird feeder. So you don't have to have all that faff.
Yeah, you just roll the dice onto the board and that's it.
And it's also taken out the card tray thing, and it's just got a cardboard or a board where you put the cards out. So it's taken some of the fuss away so that you can just literally have the things that you need.
It's a slimmer box, so transportation, like if you were going away on like holiday, if we went away, we could easily just take that box with us, couldn't we? Because it's such a flat little thing. So yeah, ideal.
And I think you don't always want all of the... I wouldn't necessarily put all the cards together, because I think then the deck is so big.
Yeah.
And actually, when we played Wingspan Asia, I liked the mix of cards that were in Asia.
It comes with an A and B card as well. Like if you've never played Wingspan before, it comes with a tutorial turns like the base game does. We just didn't use it because we know how to play it, but which I really like, and that makes me think that if you have a friend who's getting into games, never played Wingspan before, maybe they're like a couple or something like that, Wingspan Asia is a perfect board game gift. Because if two players can play it competitively, learn how to play it, and know how to play Wingspan based on that one game.
Oceania.
Yeah.
And the Nectar. I'm not in love with, I don't think.
I don't mind it, but I feel that I'm incentivized if those dice say Nectar on, I'm just taking them. I'm going to food, I'm going to take them because I know that the majority of Nectar is going to give me a benefit, and I know that's a what's the word?
I think if your partner decides to go for Nectar and is using Nectar all the time, you have no choice because you can't let them get the 15 points that they would get at the end.
Yeah.
If they just win all the Nectar. So you're then forced, your hand is forced.
You're forced also to play a lot more birds than you probably would be playing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I find that I don't necessarily think to play the birds because I had an objective in one of the games was I needed 7 resources. I needed 7 food to score the points. Well, I can't be playing it if I'm trying to save up the food. I'm not going to be spending the food. I'm trying to save it up. So, but yeah, like you said, you have to play the birds because you have to play the Nectar.
And then there's that sort of, if you hold on to the Nectar for too long, you could get to a point where the end of the round comes and then you lose that Nectar. So it's a balance between using it straight away as a wild resource to pay for a card, or holding on to it and using it to pay for a card that needs Nectar. And I found that difficult because actually I'd used it and then got a card that needed Nectar, so then didn't have any Nectar. And the cards, the only way to get Nectar is through the dice. And
the cards that require Nectar tend to be more powerful than the ones that are normal. And I like with Asia especially and the Oceania one, the adding of the like end of game triggers and end of round triggers. They're quite cool. They can be quite good. Nice little like wrinkle to add. Like, yeah, you're getting to the end of the game, but actually you're thinking about how can I work these extra cards that are going to activate at the end of this game to be able to use.
Because you had one that was like use one of my goals.
Yeah.
But actually
it didn't help.
It didn't. You couldn't make it work. But if you'd have made that work, then you could have scored. Loads of
it's just it's the luck of like one of those goals having like something that work. But yeah, and I had one that was like lay an egg on every bird that's under 30 centimeters, and it was like 7 different birds. So huge score. But yeah, they're both.
What I do like about Wingspan, sorry, going back to that, is that most of the time when we play a game, the scores are very close. No matter which route we've taken to, chosen to take, it's always quite a close game, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. There's always quite good. Yeah, so I would definitely say I would recommend. So, what would you say recommending if you were recommending expansions in order? What order would you recommend expansions for Wingspan? If people were buying expansions for Wingspan,
Asia, Europe, Oceania.
Nice.
What about you?
I'd probably go Asia, Oceania, Europe, because Europe doesn't do anything. Europe just gives you birds.
Yeah, but birds are nice.
Birds are nice. But I would also, there's part of me that would argue, depending on your household and how many people you play with, do you think if it was only 2 people going to play board games, let's put your mum and dad, let's just pretend that they play board games. Which would you just buy them Asia? Rather than buying them Wingspan?
I think that it's one of those games where you want the birds of the country that you live in.
That's fair.
So
this is why we bought Europe.
So Europe, we wanted those birds because they're the birds that we see. And I think if you are living in Asia, then you'll want those birds. And
if you're living in Australia and that other part of the world,
then you'll want those birds. And I think that's very clever.
Yep. And there's only two more to go. And that'll be your toucan.
Yay!
There we go. Happy days.
That just went in people's ear holes.
They loved it. They love it in their ear holes. They love it.
So, can we spoiler some stuff now? If we tell people to turn off,
we can do some. Well, let's talk a bit about Rise of Fenris, and then we'll say spoilers, and then people can do what they like. But we're not really going to spoil massive amounts of it because I don't think it does.
Okay. So, there are
8
different.
This is Scythe, Rise of Fenris. I don't know if I said that.
You did.
Oh, good. This is Scythe, Rise of Fenris.
You have a big book and it explains what's happening in the time and how the story changes.
Yep.
And you essentially play it over 8
games. Yeah, 8 games.
And each time something changes or they're slightly different.
Yeah, you make decisions, don't you? Like after the first like 2.
Do you want to go? Well, this is a spoiler though, really.
Yeah.
So spoilers.
Okay, we're just going to spoiler. Sorry. That was a cat. That was Jupiter. That was Cat into Games trying to get on the podcast and trying to just step on the laptop.
So this is spoiler. These are kind of spoilers. Because you can't really talk about it without saying this is what happened.
Minor spoiler.
So you get to choose between whether you want to go for war or peace in the first, and that changes the track at the top. So, well, I mean, we didn't go for war, so we don't know what happened there, but we went for peace, and therefore the whole scoring objectives changed, and you couldn't score anything for going to war.
Fights, yeah.
So the whole piece at the top changes. Then you are looking for somebody.
Yep.
And you have to try and find them. And then when you do find them, you find all sorts of pieces that are
magical things in a box.
Magical things that are to do with them. And then it might make you want to go and buy
more things. Airships.
Some airships, yeah. There are like mods.
Yeah, so you're
that you can buy. So you basically have to keep a running score of how much money you've got, and you can choose different upgrades at the start of the each
game
story.
Yeah.
And you're keeping a track of what's happening to your faction.
Yep.
Sometimes your faction might change, and you might get a different faction.
It does. So your main, yeah, that's true. Your main your faction, unless something happens twice within the game, your faction stays the same, but your faction board, the one where you do you're choosing what you're doing.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, it fell out my head. It's late. Your action selection board.
There we go.
Changes. You change that every single time. But yeah, so you're always it's always slightly different for you every game you're playing. It's just it's a phenomenal campaign and fully resettable. So you can just play
you don't have to change anything, cut anything. No. Annotate anything. And that for me is a draw, because then I can go right back to the start and try a different version or be a different character. So there's certain things that have happened that, it would be fair to say you were like, oh, why didn't that happen to me? Because you don't know these things are going to happen until they happen.
Yeah.
But, we could go right back to the start, and you would be able to choose whatever choices I made, and then you could see what happened if you were that faction.
The other thing I quite like about it as well is that the winner of the whole game is after the 8th game.
Yeah.
It's not a who's winning. You've played 6 games so we could play 6 games. I could be running away with it in the points, and I've had so many points that Becky would never be able to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter. It's down to whoever wins that final 8th game. That's the winner. That to me, there's none of that. Oh, I can already see I've lost this. There's no point in playing anymore. It gets rid of that kind of thing. Mods, as you mentioned as well, upgrading your mechs and stuff to be able to do more cool stuff. I love it.
And then I think you can use what you get in Rise of Fenris in the actual game.
Yeah, you just play with the... Yeah, so yes, there are other factions within the box that you may unlock. I think you can tell that from the shape of the boxes.
So on Stonemeier's website, it says you get 5 secret tuck boxes and 6 punch boards, 13 plastic miniatures, so you know something's coming.
The other thing is the way the box is packaged. When you open the box and you see the punch boards are on the top.
There's like a huge box in there. You're like, what's in there?
Yeah, but the punch boards are on the top of the box.
Yeah,
the punch boards aren't in envelops.
No, you can see.
So
but
you can see essentially what's coming.
It says don't read on.
Yeah. I think that my one thing would be if I was designing that, I would think that they would be in envelopes themselves.
Or something like Ticket to Ride, where the punch boards are in
hidden,
like a
tray where you slide them out.
And you can just take the first one out, second one out, whatever it is. But it doesn't spoil it, really.
Yeah, I think it's got a great story, and the fact that after you've done it, you can play with any of those modules. If you want to play a game that's based in peace, you just put those modules on the board. You can play the game how you want to play the game. You can play it with 7 people if you've got the extra Invaders from Afar expansion, which is now the only expansion that we desperately need. So this is what happens. You get an airship.
They lure you in, and then you're like,
you get it because we only had
Scythe. You don't get an airship. I get it.
So Becky gets an airship.
I just put it on the board.
She got an airship.
Craig was like, "You need to take that off. That's not part of my game."
Yeah, I want. So then we managed to see the Wind Gambit expansion, which is just airships. It was a good price, so I bought them. So now we have all the airships. But the problem is now we have all the airships, including green and purple.
Shh! You gave away the colours.
No, because green and purple is the expansion for Invaders from Afar, which is the other expansion that we don't have.
Okay.
So we need those other expansions. So we've got all of the characters.
We do.
That's it.
We will. It's fine.
It's fine.
But yes, it's very clever, and I think the fact that it's resettable is a plus, because things like Ticket to Ride, Legends of the West, we've never played it since.
No, but I could imagine us playing that.
Pandemic Legacy, we haven't played it since. But I would like to think that we will keep going back to Scythe, Rise of Fenris, because it's an enjoyable. But that's the campaign. You can play it with different people as well.
The thing is, we've with campaign games, we've got Sleeping Gods. We've played some of that. We've got Robin Hood. Amazing campaign game. We've played some of that. We haven't played all of it. So this campaign game, we've done it. Top to bottom. And I'd probably do it again. Because it's only 8... I say only 8 games of Scythe. It is only 8 games of Scythe. Then you can do it again. It's well possible to do that. Play an hour game, an hour and a half game.
Well, we've played a couple back to back, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's
carry on the story.
The beauty of Scythe is that it's long enough to be like, oh yeah, we played a meaty game, but it's also the kind of game you're like, oh, I didn't quite do the right strategy. Let's play again. And I've heard other people say this. It is one of those games where you're like, I want to play again now, right now.
Yeah. It's yeah, and that's why Scythe is my number 1 Stonemaier game, like I said earlier.
No, you didn't.
Yep. She fell for it. She fell for it, lads. Well done. Flip-flopping all over the place. But anyway,
I think you can't really, other than Pendulum, I'm not sold on, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anybody else. All of the others, I think, if you make the purchase, you're going to be happy, and you're going to play many times that game. Like there's other games that we've bought and they've got to the table once or twice, but most, I would say, most if not all of the Stonemaier games are repeatedly getting to the table.
I'd also say, like, out of just go back to Rose Red just quickly, like, I don't think there is an expansion that I would recommend more to people if they have Scythe and haven't played Rise of Fenris. That's the most I would recommend, that the most out of any expansion. I think. I just think it's phenomenal. It's really good.
Yeah, it is really good.
So yeah, that is our episode on Stonemaier Games. So thank you so much for listening. Please check out our sponsors, Rent, Shuffle and Roll, and remember to use codes GITG50.
They probably have some Stonemaier.
We'll have one or two or all of the Stonemaier games to check out. So please check them with GITG50 to get 50% off. As mentioned earlier, please check out our friends at Tinkertown Games for their upgrades. They do deluxe upgrades for Wormspans, for the Wingspans, they do Brass Birminghams. They do everything you could possibly want and need. They're a wonderful... Out
Stonemaier Games website.
And obviously check out Stonemaier Games. You may have heard of them. But yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a 5-star review on your app catching machine of choice. Follow us at Get Into Games and at Mrs._Get Into Games. Follow Jupiter at Cat Into Games just because he decided to step on the laptop earlier. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Next week, we'll talk about board games or something. Probably.
Oh, well, I should hope so.
And remember
to
get into your Wingspan.
Viticulture.
Red Rising. Yeah.
You didn't sound convinced.
Did I not? No. Sorry, Red Rising.
Scythe, Expedition, Pendulum, Wingspan. Get into
Blood in the Clock Tower.
Why'd you go do that?
I don't know. Get into games. See you later. Bye.